Oh, yeah.
What's up, friends? In this week's video, I'm going to be giving you a few survival tips for nursing school. Hopefully, not only just for surviving nursing school, but for thriving in nursing school, in fact. A few of these did do in nursing school, and I thought they were really helpful. A couple of them I wish I had done better, but that's the whole point of these videos, is for me to offer things that makes you even better and wiser and stronger and smarter than I was in nursing school. So the first tip I'm going to give you is your first semester is so important. I remember in my nursing school orientation, professors would say over and over, like, have your first semester be strong. Your first semester is going to be super tough. Just keep your head down and keep going through your first semester. And the GPA that you build your first semester will set you up for the rest of nursing school. So, as much as possible, minimize distractions your first semester. If you can, if you're in a position to not be able to work your first semester, try not to work. Try to minimize, if you're involved in any clubs, if you're doing nursing as your undergrad, if you're in any other sort of extracurriculars, or even just babysitting, nannying, family responsibilities, try to keep your life as uncluttered and your brain as uncluttered your first semester as absolutely possible. Because once you get the foundations, and when I say your first semester, I mean the semester where you're taking patho, pharm, med surge, keep it clear, your mind as much as possible, and get that GPA as strong as possible, and build the concepts of these three core classes or any of the core nursing classes. And that will set you up for so much success and will set you up for a much smoother ride for the rest of your nursing school. The second tip is that if you're having trouble with anything in nursing school, you didn't do good on a quiz, after a lecture, you feel like, oh my God, I didn't understand anything she just said for that lecture, address the problem as soon as possible. Don't in your mind be like, oh, I'll figure it out, or, let me give it a week or two and I think I can work on it on my own. Or especially if you don't do well on your first test in any of your classes, immediately address it. Don't be like, oh, okay, I'll modify it for the next one. But do you know what you need to modify? Go to a professor as soon as possible and be like, hey, I don't understand this. I'm struggling with this. Because once you dig too deep a hole for yourself, you do bad on one test, maybe you don't do great on a second test, you're going to build up so much anxiety, and it's going to make it so much harder for you to climb out of that hole. So as soon as something is unclear, as soon as you feel like you didn't do well on something, a quiz, a care plan, a test, address it immediately. Fix the problem so it doesn't keep carrying on. All right, the third tip that I want to give you is practice question, practice question, practice question. What? Practice questions. Doing as many practice questions as you can for any of your classes. Obviously, for your NCLEX, you're going to do tons and tons and tons of practice questions. Nursing is very weird in the way that nursing knowledge is tested, and you've probably heard people tell you this all the time, that nursing is about, it's not about choosing the correct answer out of four, it's about choosing the most correct answer out of four. And sometimes you're gonna be like, what? All four of these are correct. How can I answer this question correctly? I'm going to give you a real, tiny example. Let's say, and it's not about memorization in nursing school. You can't just memorize a paragraph and expect that you'll know the right answer on the test. So let's say you learned about acute kidney injury in class. The test is not going to ask you, give me the definition of acute kidney injury. No, no, no. That's not how nursing plays. The way nursing plays is, okay, this patient has come in with acute kidney injury. They have these four lab values that are altered from baseline. Which of these is the most important for you to address? So not only do you have to understand how acute kidney injury will affect electrolytes, but let's say the patient's creatinine is different from baseline, their potassium is different from baseline, their magnesium is different. You need to recognize and understand which of these is the most important for me to address in order to minimize harm to the patient. So whenever you're learning any information in nursing school, once you really understand the concept, if you're not able to access practice questions, which again, talk to your professors, they might have a question bank. Sometimes previous semesters will have tests that you can access. Sometimes there'll be online resources, nursing questions for acute kidney injury or whichever topic you're studying. But try your best whenever you get a good understanding of any concept, let's say diabetes, acute kidney injury, think about okay, how might they access my knowledge? How will they test whether I not only understand it on the surface value, but I understand how I'm going to apply it to a patient specifically. So always be thinking in those terms. Don't think of like, I memorized these 3 pages, I'm good to go, because that will not work in nursing school, unfortunately. Always be thinking, how will I take this knowledge? How will they make me suffer and make me really, really process how it needs to be applied? And do those practice questions. Any practice questions you can assess that directly relates to the topic you're studying, do them. Because it will, your brain is a muscle, ultimately. So if you train your brain to perform the way you need it to on the test, it's going to make things so much easier. So practice question, what? Practice questions. Okay, the fourth tip might seem to contradict what I said on the first tip, but if you are able to, if you have the time to be able to get some sort of PRN position as a nursing tech, nursing assistant, it can be very, very valuable. This is one tip that unfortunately I couldn't do because I did an accelerated nursing program. But if you can get a PRN position where you're working 1 shift a week, 1 shift every other week, anything like that, I'd say your last 2 semesters or maybe your last semester, it's so helpful to see what you're learning being applied to patients in a hospital setting or clinic setting or wherever you can get something. And not only does it help you to understand, how things are actually applied and how nursing practices, because I'm sure people have told you what you learn in class isn't necessarily what you'll see in the hospital, but being able to relate them is very, very useful. And the second thing, this is a huge bonus, is building a network right off the bat. You'll gain some familiarity with a particular manager, particular hospital, might translate into a job later on, might translate into a great reference later on. So I wouldn't necessarily let that be the only motivation for getting a job, but it's definitely a nice bonus. So if you have time, if you can manage, get a 1 day a week, maybe 1 day every other week nursing PRN job. Also, an ED is a great place if you can get a nursing tech, nursing assistant job, because a lot of times EDs are the most flexible in terms of hours. Most acute nursing settings, you'll be working 12-hour shifts, but in the ED, sometimes they might be like, hey, we need someone for 4 hours, we need someone for 8 hours. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So if you can get your foot in the ED, that's particularly awesome. But any nursing exposure, nursing home, clinic setting, acute care, obviously you'll get the most exposure to more acute type medical conditions, but any sort of experience you can get prior to entering nursing, just point blank as a career, that will be very helpful. And the very last thing is, you got to take care of yourself. Saying nursing school is hard is saying like puppies are cute or rain is wet, those kinds of things. Nursing school, blanket statement, it's hard. So please, please take care of yourself. You can't manage things well if you're completely burnt out emotionally, physically. I know your time is limited, your budget is limited, but please, please take time. There's a few things you can do even if you don't have time, even if you don't have money. One thing is sitting up straight. And you're like, okay, that's such a small, like trivial piece of thinking. What are you even saying? Sitting up straight will convey to the people in the room that I got this, will trick your brain into thinking you got this. So if nothing else, carry yourself like someone who has their life together, even when you feel like you don't. Please drink enough water, make time to go to the bathroom. No matter how busy you are, you have time to go to the bathroom. Even when you become a nurse, people will convince you don't have time to pee, but you do. So please pee. If you can make time every day, 30 minutes workout, do a little yoga at home, do a little Zumba workout, anything to get your mind refreshed. And then nice thing about working out is that you'll sleep better. If you sleep better, you'll feel better the next day. If you feel better the next day, you're likely to work out again the next day. So it's this beautiful little cycle. So please, please take care of yourself, because the last thing you want to do is neglect yourself. Nurses in general are notoriously bad about prioritizing everything else in their life and everyone in their life before themselves. So please take care of yourself. You will not be successful or as successful in nursing school if you don't take care of yourself. So yeah, go do it. Take a massage every now and again. So hopefully these tips were helpful for you. Hopefully you'll be able to apply them in nursing school. Please give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Please comment below other ways that you find that coping in nursing school, successful strategies you have in nursing school, or if you need any help, if there's any questions I can answer or questions that anyone else in this community can answer, we would love to do that for you. As always, keep it sweet and salty, my friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.